You want to make some ISK, but you're new, broke, and every guide tells you to go mine rocks or join a null block. There is a method of making money in EVE veteran players quietly abandoned years ago. It still works, and almost nobody talks about it anymore. Hello everyone, my name is Lynn Rankin, and today I'm going to show you one of the most reliable starting income paths in EVE Online. EVE has so many ways to make money that new players freeze. There's so many choices that it can leave you in a state of decision paralysis. If you don't have a buddy pointing you in a direction, it may be too daunting at first, especially when everything sounds like an optimal ISK making opportunity. Mining, exploration, abyssals, ratting, industry, every option sounds optimal depending on who you ask. Without direction, it's easy to waste weeks drifting between activities that never quite click. One of the ways many players made money in EVE Online is through missions. A lot of older players just rolled their eyes because they remember grinding level 4s a decade ago. They remember slow battleships and repetitive rooms. Meanwhile, a lot of people are grinding the same anomaly over and over, hoping not to get dropped on. Mission running can feel repetitive if you only focus on the ISK. Many of these missions have been around for years with only minor changes, but many players would have you instead go out into Null, fly a Vexor or Ishtar, and run the exact same site over and over again in perpetuity until someone comes around and blows you up. At least with missions, there's some sort of story going on. Mission running, if done correctly, can make just as much money, if not more, than null ratting without leaving high sec. You still need to watch out for gankers depending on what you're flying, and I'll teach you later in the video how to mitigate this. But you don't need to be watching Intel chat or docking every 20 minutes just because someone flew by. So enough yapping. How do I, as a new player, get into mission running and start making this so-called slept on money? To begin, you'll need to find a corporation to run missions for. Normally I'd say you'd need a ship, but picking a corporation is actually more important. We'll start by opening up the agency, going to Agents and Missions, scroll to the right, and then select Agent Finder. This is how we're going to narrow down a corporation, and I'll show you how to pick the one that's going to work for you and give you the most opportunities for extra earnings. To know what corporation provides the best in terms of loyalty point rewards, remember that missions give out ISK rewards, bounty rewards, loot, and loyalty points. I'm going to direct you to elatha.com. While many players, including myself, will refer you to Fuzzworks, and it is an amazing tool used by a lot of industry-minded players, I highly recommend you use it in conjunction with Elatha, since Elatha is more current with some of the newer items in EVE. Now let's find ourselves a corporation. There are a lot of NPC corporations in the game, but picking the right one will allow us to find one that has a good variety of items to pick from. Now let's find ourselves an NPC corporation. There are a lot of NPC corporations in the game, but picking the right one will allow us to find one that has a good variety of items to pick from, help us choose a base of operation to run these missions out of, and give us several agents to bounce between, and I'll tell you why that last piece is important later in the video. One of the reasons why a lot of players do run missions is to also raise standings with a corporation and its empire, because that combination of high standings reduces your broker fees in places like Jita. So as a new player, I don't feel you should pick a corporation based off of what standings you want to grind for. It is something to be aware about. Location is another factor we need to watch out for. Remember, I mentioned gankers earlier. While we are in high sec, we are still in a PvP zone, just with consequences to being an unprovoked attacker. But these unprovoked attackers, gankers, have calculated those consequences into their gank on you. So this way they actually make a profit attacking you, even though they blow up. So I'm going to share a few things with you. One, it's important to understand what CONCORD actually is. CONCORD is listed by the developers of EVE as a force of retribution, not a force of protection. There are a lot of people that get frustrated with high sec because they think it's perfect protection, but it's not. And I think that CCP should make it even more apparent that CONCORD is a force of retribution and not a force of protection. I think a lot more players would be a little less frustrated if they understood the risks, even in high sec. Because if you frame Concord as a force of retribution instead of that force of protection, I feel this prepares a lot more players and you for understanding that all areas are PvP zones, including high sec. Another note is the security status of the system that you're choosing to run missions in also determines Concord's response time if you get attacked. On screen, I have listed the average response times depending on what type of system you're running missions in. Concord will still respond to you being attacked inside of a mission, but you should remain vigilant, using your directional scanner to watch out for probes. And the location of the agent is also important to keep in mind, because if it's too close to low sec, sometimes you might get a mission that goes to low sec and you have to decline the mission. And then, as always, have your local window popped up like this, and then go to the channel Ganker list, including the hard brackets, and set every group in the message of the day as red. I could not find a more recently maintained list, but this handles the majority of gankers. What this will do is anytime you see a bunch of red players come into your solar system, you know it's time to go dock in station. Speaking of location, Caldari space is considered well traveled by gankers just because of proximity to Jita. So be aware when selecting any Caldari corporation for running missions, since those agents will most likely be in Caldari space, and you'll need to be more watchful of local chat. With this all in mind, let's pick a corporation and a system. Despite my earlier advisement on Caldari space, for pure example for this video, we're going to pick Space Lane Patrol as our corporation. It has a good variety of items for us to exchange our loyalty points for, has multiple agents in the same system so we can juggle them, and while distance between the agent system and Jita is fairly not ideal, a decent variety of agents can be found in 0.8 systems. This means on our chart that Concord's average response time should be about 6 to 9 seconds if a gank should occur. But hopefully we should be warping back to station if we see ganker groups appear in local. So what do we need for mission running? Due to the variety of missions we can encounter, we definitely want something that is versatile, is easy to use, and can be used in multiple missions, level 1s and level 2s, so we don't have to keep switching ships as we gain standings. For this video, I'm going to use the Corax, and we're actually going to use the Sisters of Eve Epic Arc Corax fit, since this will also give us options for taking on the Sisters of Eve Epic Arc as well. And overall, it costs about 3 million ISK at the time of this recording. Let's go over the fit. Starting with high slots, we have our weapons: Arbalist, compact light missile launchers, good DPS and range, and we'll be doing a lot of range control when we do missions. Next in the mids, we have a micro warp drive helping us put distance between us and our mission targets, a shield booster. We're not cap stable with this, so we're not going to be leaving this on permanently and just pulsing it as needed. We have a cap booster to give us just a few extra seconds of capacitor, as well as to provide some protection if we get energy neutralized. And we have a shield extender to give us a little buffer, and this is important on smaller ships, so that way we can tank big one-time hits more effectively. In the low slots, we have ballistic control units. Simple enough, they give a damage bonus to our missiles as well as increase the rate of fire. And lastly, in our rigs, we have an EM shield reinforcer to close up our EM resistance hole, a core defense field extender to give us just a little more raw EHP, and a bay loading accelerator to increase our rate of fire even further. For this particular fit and ship, there is no point in carrying any other ammo than Scourge missiles, since they do kinetic damage and the Corax gets a damage bonus to kinetic light missiles and rockets only. We'll maximize our damage output by just sticking with Scourge. Remember, at the time of this video, this fit should be around 3 million ISK, which you should have after running career agents or running Project Discovery for a bit. I will be using my alpha character as well as just using the minimum skills so you can see how this performs with just the bare minimum skills just getting into it. And when you're feeling good and enjoying missions, you can level these skills up to higher levels depending on how well you're enjoying it. Level 4 if you are enjoying it, and level 5 if you are really enjoying it. If you want a free 1 million skill points to use however you want, you can use my recruitment link down in the description of the video, and you'll get 1 million free skill points for becoming my recruit, and it will give you a boost to getting started with these skills. However, I do recommend prioritizing the EVE University core skill plan, since that will set you up for a longer success while you settle into mission running. I do receive some rewards if you subscribe to the game or purchase Plex. With that all out of the way, we can go ahead and meet our mission agent in Ayuvakin. Okay, we've arrived at Ayuvakin and met with our agents. I promised you earlier a tip on how to manage these agents and why, if possible, it's important to have multiple agents in one system. When some missions ask you to shoot an empire, that hurts your standings with them. Eventually, if you do enough of these empire kill missions, you'll actually be chased down by their police in their territory and blown up. For the longest time, I was not allowed in high-end Galente and Mimitar systems because I didn't know. And hopefully now you know. This is where we get into agent juggling. You can decline one mission every 4 hours per agent, meaning if a mission is presented to you and the target is an empire or takes you to LOSAC, you can decline it without any negative hits to the agent or faction the agent belongs to. However, if your luck is bad and you roll 2 missions back to back that you need to decline, don't decline the second one, wait out the 4 hours. And while you're waiting out those 4 hours, run missions for another agent. And because they're all in the same location, you don't need to worry about traveling somewhere. This keeps you safe, keeps you running missions, and doesn't hurt your standings with anyone. Well, except pirates, but that's a topic for another video. When you get a mission, there's an important resource you should have open. You don't need to figure out these missions for yourself. People have gone ahead and paved a path for you. Go to wiki.eveuniversity.org and search the title of your mission, and if there's multiple variations of that mission, just choose the one that has the enemy you're going to be shooting. And what you will find is a step-by-step of what to do, what to shoot, and what to shoot last, as well as where hidden loot can be found all throughout the mission. There's some missions that have hidden loot that's 120 million ISK or more with some good luck. So I'm going to shift from talking head mode to gameplay mode. All right, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started with our first mission here in Ayuvakin. I'm going to go ahead and talk to this agent here. We're going to go ahead and request a mission, and we're going to be doing the blockade. So pirates have set up a blockade near a hidden stargate in Ayuvakin and swarming over any passersby. So we're going to go ahead and first look up the Eve Wiki article for this. So the blockade, this is against Garistas, and it's a level 1 mission. So we have our guide. We're going to go ahead and accept this mission. All right, now that we have our mission, we're going to go ahead and take care of it. And we're going to go ahead and warp to the mission, which is straight down. One thing to note is I have opened my directional scanner. I'll go ahead and reopen that. When you first see it, it'll be in a pop-up. I'm going to have it in a separate window. What this will do is it allows me to scan local areas to see if someone's trying to combat scan me. And specifically, I have the filter target capsuleer, all, no drones. So I just pulse that every once in a while, and I look for core combat scanner probes. So let's see here. We've got our first targets here. We're going to want to avoid killing the pithy plunderer or wrecker. So it's the plunderer or wrecker. So we're not going to shoot this one until the end. We're going to go ahead and kick on our micro warp drive. We do have this stasis tower. We can go ahead and take this out. That'll give us more of our speed back once we take it out. 3 shots should do it for this one. And again, I am just using the base minimum skills, so that way you can see how this looks with even just level 1 skills. So if you get this to level 3, you're going to do even better than what I'm doing right here. All right, so that's down, and we should see our speed go way up. Yep, way up. So we're going to be able to kite these guys a little better. Now, our rate of fire isn't exactly the best, but that will change as we get more skills. So we're going to go ahead and take out these guys. And because the wrecker, it is either going to be a wrecker or a plunderer. Either one is going to be the actual trigger. So we're going to see more enemies spawn here. Yes, they did. They spawned in and around. I'm actually going to collect the loot that we got here really quick. It's not going to be the best loot, but every little bit counts. All right. So we have 2 groups. That infiltrator there is the trigger for more waves. So we're going to come down here, and actually one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove large collidable objects. Normally you want to have those on, but just for the sake of seeing something happen on screen, we're going to leave that off, and we should be in range. One thing to note is, depending on your lock range, you can actually start locking something before it's within your lock range. The system won't let you click on lock target until you're within your range. If you hold control and start clicking, as it gets close to range, depending on your speed, the game will recognize, oh, by the time the lock finishes, he'll be within lock range. So you can actually start locking things a little sooner. Again, this is a level 1, so we're not expecting huge amounts of money. That's where the level 4s come in. Right now, we're just trying to get through the level 1 missions and grind up to level 4s. Oh, looks like we got a item there. We can go ahead and collect that, and then we'll swing up and start the next wave. Again, nothing, no crazy loot and no hidden loot in this particular mission. Oh, that's the infiltrator. I did not want to shoot the infiltrator first. Darn it. Okay, there's more enemies. And that's why you pay attention to triggers. All right, where are the enemies? They are on either side. Now, these enemies, because they are yellow boxing me, they're actually approaching me. These enemies here will start making their way over to us. So we're gonna go ahead and start clearing out this bigger area here. And we're looking for the saboteurs. The saboteurs or despoilers. Not seeing any. So we'll see if there's been a silent update to this mission and how the triggers work. Now, one thing we can do, especially with these lower level missions, is split our guns. Normally not an ideal thing to do, but for our purposes, not such a bad thing to do. It'll get us to clear out these missions just a little faster. So depending on the mission and depending on what you're trying to take out, for example, a battleship, you may not want to split guns. You'll want to have that solid hitting alpha strikes every time. So depending on the types of enemies you're facing, you may want to just split your guns just to burn the whole group down. So I'm going to put 2 on you, 2 on you. I'm going to put 2 on you, and I'm going to put 2 on you. Oh, and look at that. We got some air dailies. We're getting even more money. And then we have what I believe is the final group. We are going to go ahead and loot this because as a new player, loot everything you can. You never know what you're going to find or what's going to become useful later on. If I come back in a salvager, there's an extra few million sitting here potentially in loot just by salvaging. One thing that's important is don't let other players tell you to leave money behind. Yes, some things aren't worth it, but when you're just starting out, everything's worth it. Every little bit counts. All right, so we've taken out the blockade, and that is a lot of extra wreckage there. I don't have the time today to go in and salvage this to give you an estimate on what the salvage cost would be, but we're gonna go ahead and dock up, and you can see we didn't even break a sweat with the mission. And here we go, we're gonna complete our mission. But there we go, we got 130,000 ISK and 94 loyalty points. Not too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and request another mission, and we can see here our enemy is Blood Raiders, so we can take this on. But I'm gonna go ahead and delay this one for right now, and I'm gonna send you back to me. And there we go. We completed our mission. Got some standings with the agent and got ISK and loyalty points. Level 1s are not the end goal. Your end goal with level 1s, level 2s, and even level 3s is to grind standings so that way you can access higher level 4 agents, which will cover how to prepare and run level 3 and level 4 missions in a future video. Remember that this Korax can do level 1 and level 2 missions, including the Sisters of Eve arc. Always be careful and make sure you're ready to warp out if things get hairy. With the loyalty points, you can spend them to get items convert normal items into more advanced or special versions for a profit, and you'll be making a lot more loyalty points in higher level missions. Personally, I enjoy flipping ammo from Tech 1 into faction versions. At the time of this video, you can take 5,000 units of antimatter small ammo and convert it into Caldari Navy antimatter small ammo for a decent profit, even selling straight to the buy orders. Always check the market before converting loyalty points, as loyalty point profits can change pretty regularly. One last thing, remember, ships in EVE are like ammo. You are immortal and everything blows up eventually. I remember when I lost my first Raven battleship to a level 4 mission I wasn't prepared for. Here I am, almost 15 years later. Don't let the temporary setbacks and lessons keep you from enjoying this game. And remember, you don't need perfect skills, just enough to have fun. If you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a like so I know to create more like this one in the future. And also consider subscribing to the channel so that way you don't miss my next video. If you really like this video, consider using my code LIN in the EVE Online store to show your support, or in the Marquee Dragon store for 3% off of EVE Online purchases you make there. Also, feel free to check out this video here on how to get started with exploration in EVE Online, another easy ISK making opportunity for new players. I want to take a moment to thank my YouTube and Patreon members for their support. Your support means the world to me. I appreciate each of you, and I couldn't do this without you. Bye-bye now.